All right. Hello. It is our Sunday reading on March the Saints. We're going to do part two of Saint Anthony the Great. Last week we read part one. So if you haven't heard that, go back to On March the Saints, the life of Saint Anthony the Great, part one, and check that out from last Sunday. You can find that at tommysalmons.com, my Substack, along with all my other podcasts get put up there. And we're going to be doing some different stuff on that Substack. So that's tommysalmons.com. But let's get started. Part two of the life of Saint Anthony the Great. Thus constraining himself, Anthony departed to the tombs some distance from the village. Having arranged for one of his acquaintances to bring him bread at intervals of several days, he entered one of the tombs, and when the other had closed the door on him, he remained inside alone. When the enemy could no longer bear it, but was even fearful that Anthony would soon fill the desert with asceticism, he came one night with a multitude of demons and beat him so much that he lay on the ground speechless from the tortures. He affirmed that the pain had been so severe that it would be impossible for the blows of men ever to inflict such torment. However, by the providence of God, for the Lord does not overlook them that hope in him, the next day his acquaintance came bringing him bread. When he had opened the door and saw him lying on the ground as one dead, he picked him up and carried him to the village church and laid him on the ground. Many of his relatives and the villagers sat around Anthony as around a corpse. About midnight, however, he came to himself and arose, and when he saw them all asleep and only his companion watching, he motioned to him to come and carry him again to the tombs without waking anyone. He was therefore carried back by the man, and when the door was shut as usual, he was once more alone inside. He could not stand up on account of the beating, but he prayed lying down. After he had prayed, he said with a shout, "Here I am. It is I, Anthony. I do not flee from your blows, for even if you inflict more, nothing shall separate me from the love of Christ." Then he sang, "Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear." These were the thoughts and words of the ascetic. But the enemy, the hater of good, marveled that he dared to return after such a beating, and calling together his hounds, he passionately burst forth. "You see that neither by the spirit of lust nor by blows have we made this man cease, but that he even dares us. Let us attack him in a different way." Illusions are easy for the devil, and so during the night they made such a din that the whole place seemed to shake as from an earthquake. Demons seemed to tear down the four walls of the building and enter in the shape of beasts and reptiles, and suddenly the place was filled with the forms of lions, bears, leopards, bulls, serpents, asps, scorpions, and wolves, each moving about naturally. The lion kept roaring and clawing, the bull tossed and prodded with its horns, the serpent writhed and struck, and the wolf lunged at him. The noise of all these apparitions in one place was terrible, and the fury ferocious. Anthony felt the bodily pain severely as they mauled him, yet he lay watching with an unshaken soul. And even though he was groaning with bodily pain, his noose was clear, and he said to them mockingly, "If you had any power, it would have been enough for one of you to come. But since the Lord has rendered you weak, you therefore try to terrify me by your numbers. It is proof of your weakness that you take the form of dumb beasts." Again he said boldly, "If you are able and have received power against me, do not delay to attack. But if you are unable, why do you trouble yourselves in vain? For faith in our Lord is a seal and wall of safety for us." So after many attempts, they gnashed their teeth at him, because they were mocking themselves rather than him. Now the Lord had not been forgetful of Anthony's wrestling, but was at hand to help him. Looking up, Anthony saw the roof opened, as it were, and a ray of light descending to him. The demon suddenly vanished, the pain of his body immediately ceased, and the building was again whole. He was aware of the help and getting his breath again, and being freed from pain, besought the vision which had appeared to him, saying, "Where were you? Why didn't you appear at the beginning to make my pain cease?" And a voice came to him, Anthony, I was here, but I waited to see your fight. Therefore, since you have endured without yielding, I will always be your helper, and I will make your name known everywhere. Having heard this, Anthony arose and prayed, and received such strength that he perceived that he had more power in his body than before. He was then about 35 years old. On the following day, he went forth with still more zeal for the service of God, and having fallen in with the Granada he had met previously, he asked him to dwell with him in the desert. But when the other declined on account of his great age, and because as yet there was no such custom, Anthony at once set off to the mountain by himself. Again, the enemy saw his zeal and wished to hinder him, and cast in his way what seemed to be a great silver mirror. But Anthony, seeing the guile of the evil one, stood, and having looked on the mirror, he put to shame the devil within, saying, How did this mirror appear in the desert? This road is not well worn, nor is there here a trace of any wayfarer. It could not have fallen without being missed on account of its size. And he who had lost it, having turned back to seek it, would have found it, for it is a desert place. This is some wile of the devil, O evil one. Not with this will you hinder my purpose. Let it go with you to perdition. And when Anthony had said this, it vanished like smoke. And he went on, and as he went on, he saw what was this time not visionary, but real gold scattered in the way. But whether the devil or some better power showed it to try the athlete and show the evil one that Anthony truly cared nothing for money, he did not say, nor do we know. But it is certain that that which appeared was gold, and Anthony marveled at the quantity, but passed it by as though he were going over fire. So he did not even turn, but hurried on at a run to lose sight of the place. More and more confirmed in his purpose, he hurried to the mountain. There he found a fort on the other side of the river, so long deserted that it was full of creeping things. He crossed over to it and dwelt there. The reptiles, as though someone were chasing, as though someone were chasing them, immediately left the place. He barricaded the entrance completely, having stored up loaves for 6 months. This is a custom of the Thebans, and the loaves often remained fresh a whole year. And as he found water within, he descended as into a shrine, and abode within by himself, never going out nor looking at anyone who came. Thus he devoted a long time to asceticism and received loaves, let down from above, only twice a year. Those of his acquaintances who came often used to spend days and nights outside, since he did not permit them to enter. They used to hear, as it were, crowds within clamoring, dining, sending forth piteous voices and crying, Get out of here. What are you doing in the desert? You can't survive our plots. At first, those outside thought there were some men fighting with him and that they had entered by ladders. But when they had stooped down and had seen through a hole that there was nobody, they were afraid, and realizing that they were demons, called upon Anthony. He quickly heard them, though he had not given a thought to the demons, and coming to the door, he besought them to depart and not be afraid. For thus, he said, the demons work their fantasies against those who are cowardly. Sign yourselves, therefore, with the cross, and depart boldly, and let these make fools of themselves. So they departed, fortified with the sign of the cross. He remained totally unharmed by the evil spirits, nor was he wearied with the contest. For there came to his aid visions from above, and the weakness of the foe relieved him of much labor and armed him with greater zeal. For his acquaintances would often come expecting to find him dead, and would hear him singing, Let God arise, and let his enemies be scattered, and let them that hate him flee before his face. As smoke vanished, so let them vanish. As wax melteth before the face of fire, so let the sinners perish from the face of God. And all the nations compassed me about, but in the name of the Lord I warded them off. For nearly 20 years, he continued training himself in solitude, never going out and only seldom seen by anyone. After this, when many were eager and aspired to imitate his ascetical discipline, and his acquaintances came and began to cast down and wrench off the door by force, Anthony came forth as from a shrine, initiated in the mysteries and filled with the Spirit of God. Then, for the first time, he was seen outside the fort by those who came to see him. When they saw him, they wondered at the sight, for he had the same bodily appearance as before, and was neither fat like a man without exercise, nor lean from fasting and striving with the demons, but he was just the same as they had known him before his seclusion. His soul, moreover, was free from blemish, for it was neither contracted as if by grief, nor relaxed by pleasure, nor possessed by laughter or dejection. For he was not troubled when he beheld the crowd, nor overjoyed at being greeted by so many. He was altogether even as one guided by reason, and abiding in a natural state. Through him the Lord healed the bodily ailments of many present, and cleansed others from evil spirits. He gave grace to Anthony in speaking, so that he consoled many that were sorrowful and reconciled those at variance, exhorting all to prefer the love of Christ more than anything else in the world, while he exhorted and advised them to remember the good things to come and the loving kindness of God towards us, who spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all. He persuaded many to embrace the solitary life. And thus it happened in the end that cells arose even in the mountains, and the desert was made a city by monks who came forth from their own people and enrolled themselves for citizenship in the heavens. But when he was obliged to cross the Arsen, Arsinoidic Canal, and the occasion of it was to visit the brethren, the canal was full of crocodiles. By simply praying, he and all his companions entered it and passed over unharmed. And having returned to his cell, he applied himself to the same noble and valiant exercises. And by frequent dialogues, he increased the eagerness of those who were already monks, stirring up in most of the rest the love of the monastic discipline. And soon cells multiplied by the attraction of his words, and he directed them all as a father. Okay, well, that is part two. We will embark on part three next Sunday. I like that these are nice and short, easy to get through for y'all. And I hope it's a good Sunday afternoon uh, celebration and gives you time to sit with your family and listen to the lives of the saints. That's the point of this. Everybody keeps talking about how to influence culture. And as I've said before, I'll say again, we have all the wrong heroes. We need to focus our attention on the lives of the saints and hold them up as superstars, um, worthy of glory beyond sports stars or business moguls. So, again, I hope y'all enjoyed this, and we will be back next week with part three of the life of St. Anthony the Great.